Yes people, what is good? I am BA, back once again with a reaction to a new series. Well, I didn't actually expect this to win, you know. I always thought my fan base would always want to see my reactions to things for the first time, but I guess that one Black Mirror episode which I had seen before, which showed you what it would be like if I had seen something before, convinced everyone, and the poll decided that Game of Thrones is what I am going to be watching. I absolutely love this show. I've seen it twice before. It's been a few years since I have seen it, so I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I would genuinely say it's actually in my top 5 shows, and the most interesting thing I guess you will get from watching me react to this throughout is I liked Season 8. In fact, you know what? I'll title this something like a Season 8 apologist reacts to Game of Thrones, or something like that, because yeah, I genuinely liked Season 8. I feel like 95% of the criticisms I've ever heard towards it sounded like fanboy rage because they didn't get what they wanted and thus it was bad. And you know, other than that, I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to watching this entire show all the way through, including the final season. So yeah, without further ado, this is episode 1 of season 1 and it is called Winter is Coming. Let's check it out and see what it's saying to it. That's such a dope opening shot. Even though it's comprised of, you know, criminals and other things like that, the Night's Watch is one of the legitimate toughest jobs in this world, for real. Because it's easy to guard your city against known enemies. It's terrifying to have to be a warden in the unknown, and so much beyond the wall is unknown. The wall is also such incredible imagery, obviously based on the real life Hadrian's Wall, but just George R.R. Martin putting his own little twist on it. But it's become so iconic just because of the tiny changes he made. You don't see the ice wall and think Hadrian's Wall whatsoever. Just because of a few decisions he made, it became entirely its own thing. That's something you see a lot actually throughout Game of Thrones, is George R.R. Martin taking many influences from history and other fiction he's a fan of, and then just putting his own spin on it a little bit. Shoutouts to this guy, the only member of the Night's Watch through the entire show that I remember seeing wearing a granny hat. Jon Snow wouldn't have looked as badass if he was rocking one of them, come on. Now straight away, if you were that guy, would you think wildlings? Would you think, oh man, this must just be a rough wildling gang and, you know, it's fucked up what they do to one another? Because it looks just a bit too ritualistic to be anything wildlingy that I've seen. A shape like that has to be connected to religion or spirituality in some way.
We should head back to the wall.
Do the dead frighten you?
I've always been curious as to what this guy's backstory is. I'm sure they go into it a little bit more in the books, but you know, he's very well spoken for a member of the Night's Watch, so he was clearly expelled from somewhere after being well educated, which makes me think he probably comes from King's Landing. And when you think about it, that's quite an interesting dude, you know, some well educated King's Landing person that fucked up so badly they had to get outcasted to the Night's Watch. What the fuck did he do?
Get back on your horse. I won't say it again.
All I know is I wouldn't be taking orders from this dick. When you think about the natural terrain they have to walk through, it's kind of a ballsy choice of armour the Night's Watch wear, you know, because they're all black, which intrinsically will stand out against the snow they have to do their patrols through. So in a way, it's like wearing a high visibility vest, you know, in this region. They stand out to everyone. Everyone will see them coming. And that's what they want, obviously. I'm probably going to repeat myself with this throughout this show because it always stands out to me, but all the music cues, even this little eerie piece of music that's came in here, I think whoever did the score for this, I used to actually know the guy's name if it's the same guy all the way through all the seasons, but he does some incredible shit in this show. That first shot of the White Walker is incredible. Obviously you're not getting him in full focus or anything, but instantly you know it's something that's not fully human. completely understandable that's the point this guy chose to run. Personally, if I had two swords, I think I'd take a little girl, zombie or not, do you know what I mean? But I respect his decision. Again, I love that shot because I swear that is just a practical effect, you know, it's a prosthetic head and they cut it at the exact moment the prosthetic body fell away at that angle. I do not believe there was CGI in that shot. I'm probably completely wrong. And what a great opening scene. I would say actually the one downside of that scene when this show initially aired was that the public was suffering from a bit of like zombie fatigue, do you know what I'm saying? So it was just like, okay, ice zombies. But obviously George R.R. Martin had written about this shit long before zombies became played out in popular culture. It was just bad timing. But that being said, it instantly lays out the law of the land to you, kinda, in a singular scene. It says this show is going to be supernatural, but the supernatural elements are going to freak out the people. It's not like an everyday occurrence. When they see something miraculous, it's miraculous to them, not just us, the viewer. And yeah, this has got to be one of the best, you know, opening sequences of any television show ever. It updates throughout the series as well. You see different insignia at different places as different families take over different regions, etc. And it's absolutely iconic. I think anybody who watches this show would agree this is one of the best theme songs of all time. God, I still appreciate what those two guys did, you know, they are the absolute villains of the online fanbase of Game of Thrones now. God, I've never seen such seething anger as with the Game of Thrones people, and it's so stupid. It's like, do you talk to people in real life like that? You know you fucking don't. You wouldn't be talking to anybody if you did. And fair play to this guy, he was the most unarmoured, the most terrified, but he was able to run away and survive. That little granny hat must have gave him +10 to stamina.
Fine work as always, well done.
This show was actually incredibly lucky in another regard when you think about it, in that, you know, 98% of the cast never needed recasting throughout the show. The Mountain was recast several times, and that guy that hooks up with Daenerys for a while was recast once. But aside from that, they kept all the actors from season 1 right up to the finale. We watched some of these actors grow up and become young adults right in front of our faces. It's alright, Bran. Shooting isn't your strong point, bro. And to me, that foreshadows, in one of the first scenes in one of the first episodes, that Arya was always destined to be a great warrior in some way.
Ken is too young to see such things.
He won't be a boy forever.
I'd like to know how people morally feel about that decision. You have to obviously judge it within its context, and within its context of this being a brutal medieval fantasy world, it's important for these kids to learn at a young age what it means to be the ruler of Winterfell. So I don't think it's harsh on Ned to do this. I think the world is harsh, and it's necessary for Ned to do this.
I saw what I saw. I saw in White Walkers.
Gotta feel bad for this dude. He did cowardly run away. You know, there's always a choice to charge it, even if it's an unbeatable foe. He did run away, granted, but he's telling the truth, and he did genuinely see what he claims to have seen. And at this point, you think, okay, rules are rules, but did Ned just not believe him, or did Ned believe him and do it anyway? Because if it was me, and I genuinely believed the boy, I wouldn't be able to execute him. It's too much of a freak incident, something incredibly unique that it's worth breaking the rules are rules rule for. And much respect to Bran for not looking away, but it was as clean a kill as you can get. That is a very heavy Valyrian steel sword Ned has. I mean, it's basically just a battle axe in sword form, isn't it?
The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword.
I really like that rule, because if you're in such a powerful position you can make decisions that are even equatable to life and death, you should at least have the balls to be the one to see those decisions through, rather than just cover your ears, close your eyes and tell one of your henchmen to go and deal with it. Rest in peace to the stag. The only thing that surprises me about this scene is that that thing was able to kill a direwolf. I understand antlers are deadly knives on the end of a head at the end of the day, but you know, direwolves are next fucking level, man. They should be able to maul tigers and shit, lions.
It's a freak.
It's a direwolf.
Oh, shut the fuck up, Theon. You forget how much of just a jock douche Theon is season 1.
There are no direwolves south of the wall. No, there are 5.
I love this conceptually just as a scene. I watched George R.R. Martin on a panel and he said this was the first thing he ever wrote before he even created the world or anything. Just the concept of a family of siblings finding a family of sibling puppies from a dead direwolf. And it's like one of them weird ones where it's quite the coincidence, but because it's written in this way, it does just seem like one of those freak coincidences. And it would make sense they would see it as some kind of sign and want to adopt one apiece.
You'll train them yourselves. You'll feed them yourselves.
Theon disappointed he didn't get to slice the puppy's throat there.
What about you?
I'm not a Stark.
And again, to me, that is foreshadowing from one of the first scenes in episode 1 that Jon's fate is never about saving the world, or conquering anything, or becoming king of anywhere. It's about his place in the world and his identity. What a great shot to introduce King's Landing. Interestingly, in the last year I reacted to Rome and I learned that a few of Rome's sets when it closed down were repurposed for Game of Thrones. And I might be wrong, but I swear this room is one of those rooms.
Whatever Jon Arryn knew or didn't know, it died with him.
It's true, if Robert Baratheon had in any way heard about Cersei and Jaime, he would have fucking killed both of them straight away.
You should be the hand of the king.
Their days are too long, their lives are too short.
I mean, of course it's a risky job. Everybody wants to take your position of power, and everyone else hates you because of the decisions you're making. And sometimes your own king will execute you because he doesn't like how you're doing your job, so you're fucked from every angle.
All these years and I still feel like an outsider when I come here.
And because of all the lore videos I've seen since watching this series, I know that that's because Catelyn's family, the Tullys, worship the new gods, the Seven, and obviously the Starks being in the north still worship the old gods.
Jon Arryn is dead. A fever took him.
And such a simple act sets such an incredible series of events into motion. Many of them absolutely tragically shit.
The king rides for Winterfell, and all the rest of them.
And because it's episode 1, you don't realise how big of an honour that is, but when you think about it, throughout the next 8 seasons, a king never really does that to anyone. I guess you could argue that the Dothraki, you know, Khal Drogo, who's a king, essentially, did go to the palace where Daenerys was to check it out, but they're a moving tribe. But you've never seen any Westeros king go and do anything like that throughout the rest of the show, so it's a big deal that Robert Baratheon got off his lazy ass and trekked all the way up to Winterfell.
Go on, Tommy, cheer him good. He's never met a girl he likes better than his own hair.
It's an interesting sentence, that, because throughout the show you don't really see any sort of vain side of Jon Snow in any way. I mean, is there any boy who wasn't a Bran when they were younger? I climbed every fucking tree I saw when I was his age. Can completely relate to his want to scale a castle wall.
Promise me, no more climbing. I promise.
You lying little shit.
Always look at your feet before you lie.
She said it in a much nicer way than me, but that's what she was thinking. I love the fact Arya's put a little helmet on. She never gets to see soldiers. She's loving this shit. Oh, a colossal cunt followed by an absolute legend in that last shot there. Hey, big Hodor on the left there. Shout outs to Hodor. Completely didn't see Hodor was in episode 1 the first 2 times I saw this show. Oh my god, I mean, I know she's young and stupid and all of that, but you can't say the term she brings it on herself, knowing what is brought on. Yeah, but she starts the unnecessary as fuck series of events in motion on herself, right? I love the actor that plays Robert Baratheon, he's a great actor. Even his rise hand gesture is lazy as fuck.
You've got fat.
You think maybe that's just the way he carries himself, but Robert only really lets his guard down truly with Ned, and everyone else he's not like that to.
Where's the imp? Will you shut up?
So fucked up that's the only thing they've ever heard of Tyrion.
Shows your muscles. You'll be a soldier.
Oh no, he fucking won't. You're lucky you never stay alive to see how fucking wrong you were on that one, Robert.
Take me to your crypt. I want to pay my respects.
We've been riding for a month, my love.
And that side of Cersei is an understandable side of jealousy, you know, that Robert straight away just wants to go and see the crypt of his dead love rather than, you know, spend any time with his own queen first.
You remember me at 16? All I wanted to do was crack skulls and fuck girls.
We've all been there at 16. You see a skull, you crack a skull. You're a young man learning the world.
I would name you the Hand of the King.
That sentence is basically like saying, I am putting a contract out on your life.
You helped me win the Iron Throne, now help me keep the damn thing.
And completely not a stupid decision of Robert to offer Ned this, because Ned is the best choice to be the Hand. It's just, he is also always going to be targeted and exploited for his nobility, and thus, you know, attacked when he's not expecting it, because he's an honourable dude. Interesting way to introduce Tyrion, with a blowjob reaction face there. To be fair, that's how I record all my reaction intros as well. And for your service, I'd like to thank you, Candy. Candy? I think she's dead.
Now the Starks are feasting us at sundown. Don't leave me alone with these people.
Early Game of Thrones gets accused of, you know, sex position a lot. And I do see that side of it. They do have a lot of sex scenes and nudity in the early seasons. You know, roping people in with a bit of titties and ass, completely acceptable to do. But this scene does, you know, show the undertone of the fact that out of all the family members, Jaime from day one doesn't treat Tyrion like a lesser. He treats him like his brother.
She should be on a hill somewhere with the sun and the clouds above her.
Fucking hell, this guy really loved this woman, man, until the end. When Robert was younger, he was an absolute brick shithouse, and he's just... When I call him lazy, I'm aware that there's a reason for that, you know? It destroyed him. He just stopped giving a fuck about anything.
Targaryens are gone.
Not all of them.
And what a great way to introduce Daenerys, just some peaceful woman on the other side of the world that we already know is fucking loathed by someone back in Westeros.
Go on, feel the fabric.
This guy's such a fucking tool.
He knows I won't forget my friends when I come into my throne.
Yeah, good luck with that, mate.
I need you to be perfect today. Can you do that for me?
What sort of sociopath whores off his own sister though to further gain power in his attempted campaign? I guess in those historical times, as fucked up as it sounds, people were, you know, essentially doing that left and right, marrying off their sons and daughters, etc. to build bonds between families. This is the next level though, because he's doing it just to gain military power.
It's too hot, my lady.
Great foreshadowing. I like that they don't even really explain it. I'm sure if you went deep into the historical lore, perhaps they allude to it, if not explain it, but you know, it's just their bloodline is fire resistant, end of. That's just their genetics, end of. Don't ask questions. They're still humans, just fire resistant ones, end of. But if they have a fire resistant gene, are they even human? Shh. They're fire resistant humans. Chill.
May I present my honored guests, Viserys of House Targaryen.
Khal Drogo showing up, ready to destroy that pussy.
He's a savage, of course, but he's one of the finest killers alive.
I mean, is that a selling point? Like, if he kills you one day, he'll do it in an efficient way? And I do like that that's their traditional way of approving of something. You know, if they don't like something, they'll tell you. If they do, say nothing. It's an efficient way of doing things.
People drink secret toasts to your health. They cry out for their true king.
No, they fucking don't.
If you take me for a fool,
I take you for a king.
This guy's a silver-tongued devil. He knows exactly what to say to keep him on his good side.
I would let his whole tribe fuck you. 40,000 men and their horses too.
That is one of the most disgusting sentences I think ever uttered between family on any sort of media, and I don't understand why she's taken it with that expression on her face. Surely that night she would have just stolen a horse and been like, fuck this guy, I'm out of here. Like, what is compelling her to stick by her brother's side when he's just said that shit to her?
When would we be married? Soon, or do we have to wait?
Hush now. Your father hasn't even said yes.
She's just a kid, but I mean, I don't remember being that shallow as a kid. Were you that shallow as a kid and then you matured out of it? You know, everyone has a certain level of shallowness as a kid, but this seems shallowness on just a base level. You know, you're either like that or you're not. You either grow out of that or you don't. But I guess thinking about the trajectory, you know, Sansa has always gravitated toward power, just in different ways as she matured. That's taking the fucking piss right in front of his queen. Most of us hate Cersei, granted, but you can't do that.
Rode all day. Didn't want to leave you alone with the Lannisters.
That is the single most thoughtful thing he ever does for Jon Snow, and later on he spins a fireball mace at a bunch of White Walkers until he dies.
No families. None of us will ever father sons. I don't care about that.
You can't blame him for wanting to leave this place. It just feels like he is nowhere where he means something in the world. No wonder he wants to just go join the Night's Watch with his uncle.
You're Ned Stark's bastard, aren't you?
Touched a bit of a sore spot right away there.
Lady Stark is not your mother, making you a bastard.
Yes, you are technically correct. No, you didn't have to specify it.
What the hell do you know about being a bastard?
All dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes.
That's a perfect punchline to this scene. It just goes to show that the reason he was being so offensive was to disarm him because they're two guys in the same boat. Jon didn't see it like that.
He was talking madness. So the Walker slaughtered his friends.
Thinking about it like that, if you were Ned, you would think it was insanity, because the last White Walker attack, I think, was like 1,000 years before this or something like that. So it's not even a question of whether or not Ned thought the guy was telling the truth or not. He just had to instantly assume it was insanity he was talking.
Is this your first time in the North, Your Grace?
Yes. Lovely country.
Oh yeah, you look like you fucking love it, Cersei.
I remember how scared I was when Ned brought me up here for the first time.
Jesus Christ, at least try to look interested in the small talk, for fuck's sake.
Have you bled yet?
Oh my god. You forget, first of all, how young Sansa is when this show starts, and second of all, that seems like an incredibly inappropriate thing to ask someone at that age, but I guess the Queen can get away with asking whatever she wants.
Such a beauty shouldn't stay hidden up here forever.
Fucking hell. She's already, by her actions, dislikable as Cersei. But she is actually a fucking bitch when it comes to veiled insults, masked threats and all of that as well. Truly, isn't she? She's just an all-round piece of work.
Getting a little old for it.
Gonna fight a man for real. I don't want him to know I can know.
A good answer, but my question would be, what's the fucking point of Jaime Lannister instantly antagonising Ned in that moment? Why would he do that? He's under his roof, everything's fine. Again, just instantly got a real asshole side to him, doesn't he? And because they don't change facially, we forget that these people grow throughout the show as well. Like, how old do you think Jaime Lannister is supposed to be when this show starts? And how old do you think he's supposed to be by season 8, for example? Because he's obviously still growing up as well. It's just not as visual to us as the Stark children.
King takes what he wants.
I'll say, listen, fat man.
Fully believe Catelyn when she says that.
How did he get so fat?
He only stops eating when it's time for a drink.
And on the surface it is funny, but deep down it's fucking depressing, isn't it? He's just like, you know what, I've lost anything that's worth caring about anything for, so I'm just going straight for guilty pleasures until I die. Booze, food, women.
She says John Arryn was murdered by the Lannisters. She says the king is in danger.
This being a rewatch, we know that it was Littlefinger convincing Lysa Arryn to do that. But I wonder why he instructed us to specifically say it was the Lannisters. Did he just literally want to destroy both families as part of his long-term power play?
The king rode for a month to ask for Lord Stark's help. He's the only one he trusts.
Even Ned's reaction there, he knows it's a fucking perilous time to be having to do this.
A different king.
He genuinely looked scared there, and that's not something you would ever say of Ned. Part of the reason I would say that this show caught on with people is because of how fully realised, fleshed out and described in detail this world is. It's not just a story, it's a fully realised alternate world. And because of that, it is so visually stimulating, because everywhere you look you're like, oh, this culture does that, they have those kind of weapons, they have that pattern, you know, the variation in tribes to cultures to even just houses in Westeros. It's constantly making you go, oh, they do that, that's interesting. And it's because so many interesting ideas have been thought up to create this variation in the fully realised world. Oh, this culture fucks for control of the doggy style position on a willing female. Interesting. Damn, doggy style guy 1 got disemboweled. Dick still hard. I was like, is that the large intestine, or do they call these guys horse lords for a different reason?
Songs and histories from the 7 kingdoms.
Thank you, sir.
Whenever someone gets a gift in this show, I think the coolest ones are either swords or books.
Gods be good, I hope to all reserve the rightful king.
It's just a bit tragic at this point. We know he's actually a fucking spy. Oh shit.
The ages have turned them to stone, but they will always be beautiful.
Long-term storytelling allows things to be so much more epic, because if this was being told over a shorter timeline, the dragons would have to have already been born, or semi-adult. But because we're starting at this exact moment, it's like dragons have been extinct for so long, they've almost become a thing of myth. And she's told these 3 eggs have since petrified and solidified, and they're more just ornamental. We get to see the dragons go from myth to relics of the past, and then to babies and onwards, and it's a crazy thing. We get to see before the life cycle, the myth of them being real, before the relic, which then turns into the beginning of the life cycle, which is way more than even just a life cycle story arc. Do you know what I mean? And it makes it absolutely epic, obviously, later on in the show.
I don't know how to say thank you.
There is no word for thank you in Dothraki.
Again, I fucking love that about Dothraki culture. Not that I'm not mannered, but I also respect that their culture has no time for such things. They've got reaving and horse galloping to do, shit like that.
Make him happy.
What a nice brother. Away and suck his dick for me, sis. And I wouldn't like to know what age Daenerys is supposed to be, you know, at the start of the show. I'm assuming obviously they'd have to make her of legal age to even show the scenes like this that they show in the show. But that was a lot of shows. But it's definitely still, you know, just a bit too much, these early scenes with Khal Drogo. He basically sexually assaults her until she becomes complicit through Stockholm Syndrome and then loves him back. It's just a strange relationship, really, innit, when you look into the ifs and buts of it. But a lot of people love Khal Drogo's character and don't judge him for the continued sexual assaults he commits in the early episodes of this show. It's like, yeah, he's a bit rapey, but he kills that guy we don't like with liquid gold, so yeah, shame on all of you. Just close your eyes and think of home. Which is destroyed. Just close your eyes and think of family. Which are all dead.
You as good with a spear as you used to be?
No, but I'm still better than you.
I don't think we actually get to see Ned with a spear throughout this season. That makes me feel like we've missed out on something.
I hope I'll serve you well.
You will, and I'll make sure you don't look so fucking grim all the time.
There is that side of it. It can't exactly be a downer hanging about with Robert. He's going to make sure in one way or another you have fun, even if it's at detriment to his kingdom. Now, Bran, before you get to the top of this wall, right, when a man loves a woman in a really special way, they sometimes, you know, cuddle for a bit. Now, in this special instance, when a brother loves us, it's fucking disgusting, Bran, brace yourself. But it also makes the queen kinda hot that she's up for a bit of rough sex in a ruined tower. It's nice to know your queen's got a human side, do you know what I mean?
Are you completely mad?
He saw us.
Literally Saucy saying, fucking throw him out of the window right now.
The things I do for love.
Fucking hell. It is an actual magic trick that they make this guy semi-likeable by the end of this show. Okay, and that was episode 1 of season 1 of Game of Thrones. Winter is coming, and I will be back in just a minute with my thoughts on that. So, winter is coming, what did I think of that? To be honest, with things I love, every time I watch something, feels kinda like the first time anyway, and I don't mean that I'm surprised by any of the events, it's just that I notice things that I forgot or never picked up on before in almost every single scene, and I think we're all the same with things we love. You can watch Sopranos 2, 3, 4, 5 times and interpret a scene in an entirely different way by the 5th time you've seen it than when you did by the 3rd. I guess that's just how we are to the things we're passionate about. We're bound to strip it to its bare parts and analyse it under a microscope to a certain extent, which is, you know, part of the reason why Season 8 is so hated, because it had that level of passion from the fan base who were expecting certain things to happen which didn't. And straight off the bat, the way I'd say this is structured is we get 2 quite symbolic and iconic scenes, and then we go more into the main plot. Not to say that those scenes don't have anything to do with the plot, I just see them as like we get 2 separate individual scenes which will later on become part of the bigger picture, but the bigger picture starts after the first 2 scenes. The opening is great because it establishes the White Walker story arc which is going to go through almost all the seasons, and also it's just another thing that I said is heightened in its epicness by the fact that it's myth. It's myth to the point that Ned didn't even believe the deserter when he mentioned it. He'd only ever read or heard stories about it. Of course this guy was lying or completely insane. And you're just never gonna get a level of epicness to things unless you have the time to set it up in such an epic way from its inception. I was reading actually the difference between low fantasy and high fantasy, and basically high fantasy is from page 1. You know, people know magic is real. Some people can do magic. Dragons are flying overhead. You know, it's a complete fantasy world from the get-go. Game of Thrones is low fantasy, and that it's essentially a medieval world, and all the fantasy elements are myths, or from a bygone era that don't exist anymore, or rumours, or from a eerie side of the world no one's been to. So they introduce the supernatural and fantasy elements realistically by allowing the Westeros characters to react like we fucking would if we saw this shit, if we saw White Walker for the first time. Or a dragon, or a red woman that could set fire to things. If I was ever going to write in this genre, I would choose that because it makes things more, again, epic, for it to be as surprising to the world as it is to the rest of us, rather than it just be a fundamental component to this world from the very beginning and no one is shocked by its existence kind of thing. So yeah, that first scene was great, and you might not know it, you know, if you're watching it for the first time, but it also introduces us to the Night's Watch and what they have to do just for patrols and stuff like that. Then scene 2, we get the Starks finding the pups, and that is just an incredibly symbolic scene. In the larger picture it doesn't have too much of a part to play, but it's an incredibly symbolic scene to introduce the Stark family with, and it's also just badass that each one of these children one day are going to have a full-blown direwolf, and again they've set it up in episode 1 by introducing them as pups but showing the dead mother knowing what size they are eventually going to get to. Are you seeing a pattern in the writing here? It is incredible that at every avenue he's already building up shit that you can foresee in your head is going to be fucking epic. Establishing the eggs from the very moment he says, you know, they've long since turned to stone but they're still very beautiful. It makes you think though, like, why are they showing us these fucking eggs? You know, it makes you wonder if there's something more to them. So We're getting it from all directions just now. The White Walkers appearing for the first time, and the pups that are going to grow into giant direwolves, and these petrified dragon eggs, and it's just brilliant writing because it definitely makes you want to see more. But the real story, of course, is that Jon Arryn is dead. Nobody knows it, but Lysa Arryn has sent the Starks a letter saying they think he's been poisoned. This puts everyone on high alert, while at the same time Robert Baratheon is visiting Winterfell. So now poor Ned knows that the last hand of the king's just been poisoned, and Robert's asked him to be the hand, and you can see it written all over his face. He knows it's a bit perilous. I didn't even realise he had a genuine look of fear on his face the first few times I watched this either, but he truly did look like he knew he was fucked instantaneously. Just a look of foreboding doom. But of course, the only thing more deadly than being selected to be handed a king is being Sean Bean himself. So those two things combined is a fucking Grim Reaper touch of death if I've ever seen one. And then the ending just absolutely shocks you in this episode. I remember the first time I watched this episode, I just couldn't believe it. First of all, I was like, I swear they're brother and sister fucking. What the fuck? Ain't she the queen to the big guy who got off the horse and called the other one fat? You know, because it's hard to take everything in when you first watch it. And then just to establish how ruthless the Lannisters are by just yeeting Bran out of the window, wow. I can imagine at the time this first aired, the people that were there from day one, bet they couldn't wait for episode 2. Although I guess also the people that were there from day one had probably read the books, so they knew what happened from then. But the people that were watching it from the first time, how could you not want to click the next episode after that cliffhanger? And yeah, thank you to my Patreons. I never thought I'd be doing a reaction series on this channel, but I'm genuinely happy that I am. And you know what? That opens the floodgates for everything now. You know, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire, anything you guys want to see. If you guys are happy with the fact that I've seen it before, I'm happy to react to it for you. And I can't wait to see more Game of Thrones next week. If you've liked this video, click like. Subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this, ring the bell to be notified as to when they drop. If there's anything you want to talk about, comment down below, and share this around to anyone you think might appreciate it or want to watch these reactions along with us. My Patreon link is down in the description. If you become a patron, you get access to my blog, you get access to these reactions I put on YouTube a month and a half in advance, and you also get access to full-length versions of everything I react to. So consider becoming a patron, it helps me and my channel out so much. And until next time, I have been BA, peace.